Where you from? Where you from? HBCU better be yours. HBCU. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, it's your uncle, your cousin, and your best friend. You are tuned in to another edition of the HBCU Man Cave, where men can relate, relax, and release. I'm your host, A. Harris Brown, as always, and I got my good brother from another mother, Kevin Keys III, with me today. Bum, 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 bum. And today's topic is one that's close to some of our hearts here on the screen today: being Black and neurodivergent in America. Now, this is a conversation that doesn't happen enough in our community, and it's time we bring it to the forefront. Now, we'll be digging deep into what it means to navigate life as Black and neurodivergent in this country, and how we can show up for ourselves, our family, and our community. Now, we got some incredible guests with us today, so let's get into it. So our first guest is a returning favorite. He was just on our show last week, and we're glad to have him back. We got our boy Shane Kane, all the way from Seattle, Washington, in the U.S. Navy, and currently studying at the Virginia University of Lynchburg, his alma mater, to become a doctor in healthcare administration and health sciences in 2025, when he's going to close a chapter on this part of his life. He's a man on a mission to make a difference in healthcare, and we can't wait to hear what he's got to say. What's going on, my brother Shane?
I'm here, man. Let's get it on.
I know that's right. And our second guest, Chris Redding, a proud alum of the best HBCU in the whole wide world. He's one of Mary's kids from Bethune-Cookman University. Chris is an accomplished musician and a father, and his latest album was created to communicate with his nonverbal autistic son. He's got a powerful story of breakthrough and connection. Chris, we are honored to have you in the cave today.
Hey, it's such a pleasure to be here, man, and always a pleasure to represent the greatest HBCU on earth. Hey, I was rocking out to that song y'all was playing in the beginning. I'm like, okay, my HBCU better than yours.
Oh yeah. Now let me shout out. Let me go back to Kevin real quick. Kevin didn't get the memo. He didn't understand the assignment.
Of course I didn't.
He's always got to be that one child.
Yes.
We say we wear hat day, and here he come. But that's okay.
It was not translated to me until after, we were here, and I said, oh, well.
But that's all right. So everybody who's watching us now, whether you watch us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button, and leave a comment. Let us know where you're watching from, as always. And then again, even though this is the HBCU Man Cave, we love when our women are here and commenting in the chat. We appreciate so very much that you got our back. You got our side. You're in front of us. You are there to help support and guide us, help support and love on us every step of the way. All right, so let's just jump right into this topic. I'm going to just jump right into it. Now, today's topic, again, being Black and neurodivergent in America. Now, neurodiversity highlights that not all brains work the same. And for Black folks, the intersection of race and neurodivergence creates unique challenges in our community. Now, Black children are often misdiagnosed with behavioral issues instead of conditions like autism or ADHD. This leads to mislabeling and marginalization, which limits access to the support these children really need. According to a 2002 study from the Varsity, a publication provided by the University of Toledo, Black children are also less likely to be diagnosed with autism at an early age, which causes delays in receiving crucial care and interventions that could change the trajectory of their development. Now, these systematic disparities are compounded by cultural stigmas and a lack of resources, now leaving many Black neurodivergent individuals misunderstood or underserved. So what does this mean for our families, educators, and healthcare professionals? We're going to find out today, and let's chop it up and unpack this topic for today. Now, again, we got some great questions. I'm so glad that we got a very diverse group. We have a father who's living with this situation. We have a healthcare provider or someone who's learning the healthcare, and we're gonna get from his perspective. And we got the educated, like Anthony. Oh my God, he was like, you have no idea how I have to deal with this on a daily basis. And yep, tomorrow morning you're right back in it. You're back in the swing of things.
Yes, yes.
And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any comments or questions, we'll make sure we'll try to get to some of your comments and things of that nature throughout the show. So please, thank you so very much for joining us. Chris, I'm going right in. I'm going straight for you first. I got some hot questions. Got some, hold on. I'm doing too much. And all right, Chris, here we go. Raising a nonverbal autistic son must be both a challenge and a blessing. Now, from your experience, what's one piece of advice you would give to parents who are navigating a similar journey?
Well, I think the most important thing is, and I tell this to all parents that are, dealing with this. Either they're just, they're seeing signs of autism, or they're noticing some things. Early diagnosis is key, and I'll let you know. You talked about systemic issues surrounding, diagnoses and things like that. Well, a lot of times, people of color are discouraged from getting diagnoses because of stigmas and even institutionalized discouragement as well. So, for instance, you'll probably hear something like, you don't, want to get them labeled so early, or you don't want to have labels associated with them, or, what are people going to think about this and that? And they'll grow out of it. All of these things, you kind of have to quiet those voices. And when you get a diagnosis, that opens up so many opportunities, so many resources, so much understanding. Autism, getting diagnosed with autism is a journey. And for my wife and I, it's just been a constant learning experience. And it could be a beautiful thing, because the whole idea about neurodivergence is that we all are different, just like we have different skin tone. We have different points of view, different cultures. All of these things, we are different neurologically as well, and we should celebrate that. We should understand it more. We should understand how our brains work, and what are the things that we can connect with most.
Okay. And listen, I always, when I was in the classroom, I used to always tell my students, like, first of all, I would say, we are all LD. And they're like, Mr. Brown, how dare you? I said, we all learn differently.
Yep.
And because of that, it's okay to have the differences. And we're going to learn how to navigate that space to meet all learning lifestyles and all learning capabilities and differences. So, Kevin, as an educator, I know you've worked with students with a wide variety of backgrounds. Okay. Have you had an experience of teaching neurodivergent students? And if so, how did you ensure they receive the support they need, especially in a school environment that may not be equipped to fully understand them?
Whew, I love this question. Okay. Several reasons why I love this question is, number one, I currently work at my old school district in the old elementary school that I went to. So I kind of know the services they can offer. I kind of know like the ins and outs of what they do. So when I was coming in there, I come to find out that I actually had a class that was really set up with a lot of IEPs. For those who don't know what IEPs is, just individualized educational plans for each child that has some type of like learning disability or something that is stopping them from learning the same way as what they call a typical student. Now, what I've learned, and I'm not going to say it's my school specifically, but I've learned in the education, especially in the inside of inner city schools, we like to just label everybody to the point where we don't get enough services. I've learned that we simply lower our expectations instead of saying, okay, we know that you have this problem. Now let's create steps in order to help this problem. A lot of people didn't understand why I end up keeping the class that I had last year, this year. And it was because I decided to move up with them, because of the simple fact is they they did something that was very unique. With all those IEPs, no one expected their test scores to be the way that they were. Now I'm happy to say that COVID is not an excuse. IEP is not an excuse. I have over 85% of my class on grade level. I'm genuinely proud of that for the simple fact is a lot of people like to tend to write people who learn differently off. They like to say, oh, they're no good. Oh, they won't, learn. So just give anything and tell them anything. The thing that helped me was I wasn't afraid to advocate.
Come on.
I'm gonna go at you. I'm gonna go at administration. I'm gonna go at the special ed department. I'm gonna go after the central office. Anybody I need to get our kids the services that they need. It was a time where I have students that with autism. I have students that's visually impaired. I have students that just have learning like all different types of learning disabilities. And I was telling them, well, what services are we giving them? What service are we offering them? What are we doing? Because what we're not going to do is sit there and continue to let them just fall behind further and further. And then y'all get them in high school and then y'all give them a certificate of completion because y'all say, oh, we couldn't do nothing to help them when y'all could have helped them in the first place when y'all diagnosed them in first grade and y'all would have gave them the services they could have tested out. A lot of people don't know that you can test out of special ed. You can get out there, but you have to get the services that you need first. And that is my goal is by the time I'm done with my children, none of them will have IEPs anymore.
Come
None
on.
of them have IEPs.
But what you're not gonna do
is label our children and then don't give them the services that they deserve. And it's just simple as that. And with that, it was like when I changed that perspective and I was able to tell our children, like, hey, I'm gonna be real with you. They might write you off out there, but I see what you are capable of. They say, oh, well, you got to make these certain accommodations. Oh, but you got to tell them, like, for example, they tell us, oh, they're not allowed to draw in class. Why not? If that's what helps them, if that's what keeps them to learning, if that's what they're interested in, you teach to their strengths. I've learned that when I'm dealing with kids that have these different types of disabilities, I have to teach to their strength. I have a child that is obsessed with Sonic. Well, when we teaching math or we teaching reading, we gonna incorporate Sonic in it. Then we're gonna do stuff that's gonna make you focus. Get you to be invested and get you to learn. Get them to understand, like, hey, we get that you are different, but we're gonna make sure that there is no excuse for you not to get a high school diploma, for you not to go to college. I have a frat brother who has autism, and yet he is now finishing his PhD. It is possible, but we got to stop writing our children off. We also got to allow our parents have to trust the education or the educators that they send their child to school with. And then they have to, oh, there's nothing wrong with my baby. There's nothing wrong with my baby. If it's something that services that your child need, you have to listen. You have to listen. You have to get that child the services. You got to get that child the help, or it's going to hurt that child in the long run. And that was one of the biggest problems. They say, oh, well, we didn't have all this back in the day. Well, oh, but that son of yours, oh, he just stayed to himself. He just don't like his stuff a certain way, or he just gets mad a little too quick. He just needs to calm down. No, these are actual diagnoses of actual cases of autism, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, all different types of things. But we don't diagnose because we don't want our children to be labeled. And I get it. We got a whole stigma with racism, and we got a whole stigma with we already got enough strikes against us. We don't want to add nothing else. But if we get our children the services early,
come on.
If you give them the services that they need early,
give them the support.
Will not have
show you how to navigate how to navigate.
Like if we show you how to navigate. Boom.
Thank you, because I was about to say, because Kevin came on here. So Chris, I'm sorry, Kevin won't get on here and start preaching. A whole soliloquy about 20 minutes.
That's all right. I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Because he passionate.
And it's something I'm passionate about. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm coming back to you, Kevin, and I'm coming back to you, Chris. So studies have shown that Black children are often disproportionately disciplined in school settings, and many neurodivergent Black students are mislabeled, as you just talked about, as having behavior problems. This is where the role of the educator, thank you, Kevin, becomes vital in the advocacy and proper diagnosis. See, I was coming. I was ready for you. So now, Shane, as
Yes, sir.
someone who is emerging into the healthcare space, you have a unique perspective from from what you have studied and experienced thus far. What improvements do you think are necessary to better support African Americans and those individuals who are dealing with neurodivergence or families who have a scholar that they're raising?
Um, First of all, thank you for this topic because I think it is very, very, very important. And to answer that, as someone who is emerging into the healthcare field, I believe in improving support for Black individual with neurodivergence, as it requires several pieces to fit, right, to make sure it goes through and it's received. First, um, it's a crucial need for cultural competent in the healthcare professions, right, or professionals who understand the intersection of race and neurodiversity. This includes providing training to recognize neurodivergence in a way that it is not biased,
Mm.
because when we talk about healthcare, biasing is a big issue. All right, and then when we talk about that, we're talking about racial stereotypes. As Black individuals, we are often misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed. Additionally, access to early screening, as we talked about, Kevin talked about, intervention services that can be improved, particularly to understand the Black community, right? Expounding access to mental health care and neurodivergent services through community-based programs can reduce neurodivergence.
Listen, first of all, come on, Doc. Doc then gave us
Hey,
here.
listen, I got my tambourine now. You already know.
Listen, I love the fact that you came ready. He said, "Oh, I got the answer for you right here." So we're gonna
I'm
make sure
ready.
you all understand that there are resources, there's opportunities, there's connections available. So don't think you're out here by yourself on an island by yourself. There are support services, and I love that. So let me go back to Dad. Let me go back to our father, Chris. Now we know that communication can be one of the toughest barriers when raising a nonverbal child. You've turned to music as he sits in his studio, y'all. I want to shout out the fact that he's in his studio, right? He turned to music to connect with his son. Can you share how this opportunity has played a role in building a bridge between you and him?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I want to say is that I'm also neurodivergent myself. So I was diagnosed with ADHD, and my mom, she advocated for me very early, because I was running into some of those issues in the school system, getting, suspended, getting, mislabeled and misplaced in the educational system. But once I got diagnosed with ADHD, again, there was some fear around it, because it's like, at the time, ADHD was, you only heard about, and excuse my language, but little white boys had ADHD and they were on medication because they couldn't sit still. But ADHD, the experience of having ADHD is your mind is constantly exploding with ideas and creativity and this energy, this burst of energy. And when you're in a traditional school setting, there just isn't always a place for that. So when I would go to the class, we'll do an assignment, but I would be bored because I wanted to have it more interactive, more hands-on. So ADHD it doesn't mean that you're a bad kid or you can't focus. That's a misconception about ADHD. It just means that you process information differently and you experience things differently. The world for me was very audio visual. And music, I turned to music as a way to express myself, to express how I felt inside. And having a son on the autism spectrum, we started to notice things early on. He would say certain words when he was young, but then he started to regress, and it was less and less speech. And when I would play music for him, he would respond, just very, very, uh, just with all of this emotion. Children with autism, they do something called vocal stimming, and that's where they use like these vibrational sounds to express themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that very early, and then I was like, "Wow, this is very cool. This is a way that he and I can form a connection." And I brought him in the studio. I played music for him and put him on the mic, and allowed him to vocal sim and just express himself. And it really turned it into this beautiful organic experience where we just collaborated together, and we formed that connection. So, you know, I believe that when it comes to neurodivergence, it's about understanding, first of all, the level of communication and how a person learns. What are some of the qualities that um, stand out, and really creating an atmosphere and an environment for them to excel.
Oh, wait, okay. So now you got some of the music already ready? You got something queued up and ready?
Oh,
y'all
ain't got the
want to
music?
feel it. I want to know what it feels like.
I gotta make sure I sing y'all the music. I thought y'all had the music. Y'all supposed to have me queued up.
Oh, okay. We don't work on that. Let me see if I can go when Kevin.
But the album is called Visions of Sounds, and right now it's a new age album, and as you know, the new age genre is typically like a spiritual vibrational genre, where they focus a lot on the frequency of the music.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now it's the Visions of Sounds album charted #2 on iTunes in the new age category, and it's just been having like just overwhelming response from just families around the world that have a child on the spectrum, or have a child that's neurodivergent or nonverbal, and just really connecting with people all over the world, sharing this music, sharing this musical gift. And it's not the album is not specifically for people with autism or with neurodivergence, but it's to be inclusive of. So if you hear the music, you're like, man, this like sound like something I could listen to, I could ride to. This like on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because of the frequencies of the music, and the certain sounds that we use are sensitive to those that are neurodivergent. So I work very closely with some very, very talented producers, a few Grammy Award winning producers to bring this project to light. And I'm just so thankful to be able to share it with, not only my son and my family, but those around the world that, can relate and share their story and their journey as well.
All right, I'm gonna see if I can get it queued up real quick while I'm talking to Kevin and Shane real quick. So Kevin, don't get too long, but give me enough so I can find the song. What do you think educators can do better when it comes to supporting Black neurodivergent students? What can educators do better?
Connect with your kids, number one. Let's start there. And that's one of the biggest problems. And I've been seeing it in my school. I've been seeing it in my district. I've been seeing it in the state of Michigan. And I've been seeing it across the country. We don't know how to connect with our kids no more. That is one of the biggest problems that we are facing in education. It seems like educators have started to give up, and they don't like to actually take that step to actually capture kids' hearts. That's a program now. And it's like we say we adopt it, and then we don't. There's no textbook. Yeah. There's no paper. There is no study that can teach us how to connect with our children. You just got to have it in you. You just got to know that you have to figure out what they like, what they, what helps them learn. You got to also know how to teach to every type of learner. Okay. If you got a audio learner, if you have a kinetic learner, if you have a visual learner, well, you got to sit there and make sure that your teaching style incorporates all that. Meet the child where they're at, but never lower your expectations. A lot of teachers say they see IEPs and say, okay, we're going to lower expectations. We're going to make the accommodation. So we're going to have you reading kindergarten books for 4 years straight. And that's not doing nothing but sitting there keeping you further and further behind. And as the years go by, you further and further back, because we sat there and lowered our expectations instead of coming together and saying, okay, we're going to sit there and get you up to where we need you to be. But, yeah.
So it sounds as if there is a gap in how schools are addressing the unique needs of students.
Yes, absolutely.
And so what you're suggesting again is how we get in front of this thing so we can close this achievement gap, be able to better prepare these scholars to be able to pass these achievement tests and be able to one day get off the IEP.
Yes. Now, I will say, I can give y'all the whole educator version of, well, we need to do small groups and we need to do instructionalized learning and scaffolding and making sure that, we put everybody in the rank of where they are, and then try to do small group instruction where we're saying, okay, let's break this down. We understand. And yes, that also works. But sometimes when a kid is more comfortable around you, they're more receptive to learning. If they're feeling like they're in a situation where they just uncomfortable and they constantly moving and looking around everywhere, they're not going to want to learn. They're not going to learn. And it's like, if we take the time to actually, for example, my classroom, I completely redid my whole classroom where it's LED lights all around. I got the light, the LED, the actual the fluorescent lights on the ceiling. I got them covered. Stuff to just keep them calm and making it a conducive learning environment where they're comfortable in. Just doing simple things like that go a long way. Have little like toys in a calm down area to maybe give them also breaks. Don't try to teach your class back to back to back every subject back to back to back, because I have to teach every subject in a day. I'm not teaching them all back to back. We're gonna take some time, we're gonna step back. All right, now ask me anything. Let's talk about anything. What's on y'all minds? Let's take a break. Let's listen to some music. Let's have a karaoke time real quick. Let's do a dance break just to get you up and let's get you moving. He said karaoke.
Hey, Josh was ready.
I'm just saying, like, stuff like that. And then I'm talking about when I got into the class, they seen those kids grow. And it was all I did. I didn't do nothing special. I didn't do nothing that was like Joe Clark. I didn't do none of that. Like, I did simply just connecting with our children and just being there for our children and letting them know that you're in a safe environment where you can ask any question and you ain't got to feel weird. You ain't got to feel dumb. You don't got to feel none of that. Just ask your question and we're going to learn from it all together.
Listen, so speaking of playing music in the playing some music for your classroom, I'm actually playing one of Chris's songs. Vision of Sound is from the album Vision of Sound. It's called Melodies Come from Heaven.
From heaven. Yes, sir.
Oh, can you give me a little bit about what was the background and inspiration behind this song?
I mean, it's basically, once we tap into that higher frequency, that higher connection, it's like it's a communication for us. I want to make a comment on one of the things that was said.
Okay.
So me being a neurodivergent person, and diagnosed with ADHD, I have to say I am pro IEP, and I'll tell you why. Because the IEP, it gives you opportunities for extra time on tests. It gives you privileges as a neurodivergent student, and you can take these privileges with you all the way up to college. I went to Bethune-Cookman University, and I had extra time on my test, and I wasn't ashamed of that because, again, a neurodivergent mind, again, you're dealing with ideas
Flashing back and
and
forth.
scenarios that's coming at a mile a minute, and your brain, look at some of the top entrepreneurs in the world today. Elon Musk, he's on the spectrum, you know, and he'll tell you, if you go and you listen to some interviews from him, he'll tell you the constant ideas that will pop into his mind, the business ideas, all of this creativity that flows in the brain. And sometimes when someone puts you in a classroom and they limit you to, okay, do what this on this paper, what it says, and do things X, Y, and Z. But you're thinking about every possible scenario, and you're also challenging those ideas that is on this piece of paper. So I'm pro IEP only because I don't think the goal is to get off an IEP. I think the goal is to use it to your advantage because other kids, they're doing that. They're doing it. Another thing that we talk a lot about is when medications and things like that. I say do your research because there was a time when I was in middle school, I used Adderall, right? But as I began to understand my neurodivergence, I understand how my brain worked. I could take lower doses. I could take less and less. And by the time I got to college, I only took it for tests. And guess what? It was kids that were not neurodivergent, that were not diagnosed, that were using Adderall too to help them focus on tests. So these things we shouldn't be ashamed about. I think that's a part of the stigma we have to break. We shouldn't be ashamed about it, but we should be more educated, and we should understand that, hey, let's use these things to our advantage. I have a powerful mind, and I need to learn how it works and how to, let it benefit me instead of working against me.
Okay.
But
All
yeah,
right.
Melody's
Put you
madness.
in a box. Put you in a box.
I love that. Come
Exactly.
on.
Yep.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, he said that.
Exactly.
He said, it's okay. He said, no, I understand. I don't think Kevin is saying get rid of it, but for those who can,
Right.
if we can move
Yeah.
you off of it, great. But if you still need it, but make it work for you and not against you,
It's
and making sure that you have the parents, as parents, especially for those parents who, when this whole IEP is thrown in front of you and you get the idea book and you're like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? I need you to understand what you're signing to, what you are agreeing to, for your child, to make sure that you are getting the right services at the right time and how to
Absolutely.
progress. And it's not something that's stifling or holding your child back. How do you make sure
Absolutely.
that you're getting the services
There,
that's going to propel you forward?
there's so many services and resources for neurodivergent kids and kids that are on the autism spectrum. One great program is called Respite, and for those parents that may have a child on the spectrum, Respite is a program that will actually give you in-home assistance, where they will come and give you a break as a parent, and they will take your child and work with you right there in the home, and all of those things to just give you a break as a parent. There's so many. There's a program as well that will give kids that are diagnosed, legally diagnosed, free health care for life, no matter what your income is. And my aunt was one of the pioneers in help getting that program started in the state of Florida. So there's a lot of different resources that we could take advantage of, right? And we could use for our children, and to use to benefit them. It is when you identify as neurodivergent, right? And I personally believe that we all, like, for me, the word neurodivergent means different neurotypes. So there's some people that are neurotypical, but we're all in a way neurodivergent, because we're all diverse in our own right, right? Our minds think differently, and that's something to celebrate, right? That's something to celebrate. That's something to say, you know what, hey, let's have more understanding. I'm so glad that today my autistic son, it's not like how it used to be, right? When we were coming up, they would pick on kids, call them slow, this and that. But I see kids now in his age group that have more understanding. They're more compassionate. They're more patient. They understand, because and I have to credit that to the communities that are being built in social media, the conversations like we're having today, to have more understanding surrounding neurodivergence.
Listen, I appreciate that. Let me just jump real quick and let everybody know, if you're just tuning in, just joining us, whether you're watching us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, you are watching the HBCU Man Cave. Today's topic is being Black and neurodivergent in America. Again, we're talking about the whole idea of neurodiversity and how the brain works, or how the brain works differently. Again, we all learn differently. And in between this intersectionality of race and neurodivergence are some unique challenges. And in our community, our Black children often misdiagnosed, or not even addressed with the right supports that they need. Want to shout out real quick to Chris. We got another Wildcat who watches us every week faithfully. He's a local politician in oh my gosh, Vernon. I forgot where you located, but anyway, he says
in Kentucky.
the local government needs to stop cutting funds for special ed, especially in the urban areas. As a former legislator, he said he's advocated for more funds, as well as giving the proper help to the parents. So thank you, Vernon, for that.
So allow me to jump in on that. And see, the politician side is why I'm against IEPs in the Black community. The reason why is because what they do is they throw a child on an IEP and then forget about them. So then it's like, okay, yeah, we're saying, oh yeah, federally we have a document that states that, oh, we got to make these accommodations, and then they're not making these accommodations. They're saying, oh, you have an IP, and then they'll do it where it's a certain percentage. They say, oh, you're 80% into special ed. Once you get to 80% special ed, they are putting you on the track of a certificate of completion. So yeah, we say that IEPs is very good. And yes, I definitely believe that if you have, like, for example, my brain grows on a constant basis. I mean, yes, I definitely have ADHD. And that's okay. You know, I came to terms with that. I've tried the Adderall thing. It's not for me. I didn't like the way it made me feel.
Did it work for you?
Yeah, it was almost counterproductive. I mean, it brought me down and it slowed my brain down. But actually, I don't think I actually want my brain to be slow. I think I wanted to keep it moving. You know, I actually enjoy it. I mean, it helped me get a 4-year degree in 2.5 years. So, I mean, I embrace it. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to IEPs, it's like our people are not getting the services. And it's like once we put them on an IEP, it's like they forget about them, or they just sit there and they lower their expectations. And that's why our parents, they fear putting their child on IEP, because they feel like, oh, well, you're just gonna throw my child away. And it's like they gotta learn that it's not that. It's not that, but they gotta be sure that they're in these schools are giving them the correct services, the services that they deserve. And it's like, I mean, not pointing out my school. I gotta keep putting that on there because I don't know.
Don't put no.
Not my school.
General.
It is some special ed. It's some special ed departments that are not servicing our kids, that are not doing right by our kids. That say, oh, these kids, and then it's like it's crazy. It's not too many Black people in special education like that's running special education either. So it's like you got a bunch of, and I don't care. We got a bunch of white people running the special ed departments that's over Black students, and then they say, oh well, the kids they don't need this, or the kids don't need that, and this whole time it's like now the kids are suffering because we got somebody in there that literally just learned from a textbook, and it's like a textbook that's not even made for us, that's not even addressing our problems, or not even addressing how a lot of this stuff is systemically in our DNA. You're not talking about the fact that education, the system's we're not even getting the right funding, the appropriate funding for our general ed, like ed's kids. So let alone getting our actual services for our special education departments. So it's like, if we actually had the appropriate funding, then yeah, I will support it.
Listen, okay, because Kevin, before you hold on, Chris.
okay. This is a high topic, man.
I want to say love plenty at .gta. Hello, how are you? Find your rolling free. Watching on Instagram, Rich P _1911. What's up? What's happening? Thank you for watching. 1K Humble _ says Kevin reps Miles in a great way. I just want to make sure I say that. Give me the shout out to some of the folks who are watching on Instagram. So, Chris, make it quick. I need to go to our doctor to I got a question for him. I think he got something
really quick
on this.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I want to hear his take on this too. But really quick, we have to remember that IEP stands for Individual Education Plan, and that means that you as an individual, you have the authority when you have an IEP to make those teachers work for you individually. Now, it's up to us and it's up to the parents to have IEP meetings and to hold the teachers and the ESC department accountable. Because that track, I had an IEP since 6th grade. All right. And in my IEP was always stated, I am going to college. I am going to college, and this is what I want. These are my demands as a student. You have that right. As a non-IEP student, you don't have that right. You have to follow the curriculum. So that's something I wanted. That's just a quick point. That the parents, we have to hold the teachers accountable when you have an IEP meeting to have these meetings and to address every situation the way your child learns individually.
Listen, thank you for that. I'm glad you said that, because that is so important, because you have to demand whatever the expectations are that's in the IEP, you have to follow it. Parents, you have to stay on top of it. If you're unsure, get you a family advocate, get you somebody who can be in the room with you to advocate for you on your behalf and get all the services, and not having a teacher just trying to just give you the once over and the okie doke, because it can happen. It can happen.
No, it happens. It does happen.
And it does. And it does happen.
Black individuals with neurodivergence are often, again, like we've been saying before quite a few times, are misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed due to health care disparities. This lack of diagnosis or late diagnosis can prevent access to services that could improve the quality of life. So I'm going back over here to our doctor to be. I love that, right?
I love it too. I love it too.
The doctor to be. Are there any systemic challenges that you believe healthcare institutions should implement to make sure or make care more inclusive and responsive to the needs of Black neurodivergent individuals?
We in the man cave, right?
Yes, we in the man cave.
We're gonna
why
keep
we
it
in the man cave? Shut up, women, real quick. Why we in the man cave? Visions in the background, visions of sound.
We in the man cave, so we're gonna keep it 100. All right. I personally believe healthcare institutions must implement systematic change, right? To make care for inclusive to Black neurodivergent individual. First, institutions should adapt cultural competent care models to train and provide the unique needs of Black people and individuals around us. All right. So this is
that part right there.
This is not a white thing. It's not an Asian thing. It's not an Australian thing, right? It's about Black, because we're not appreciated. We're not looked at, right? So the diagnosis that a white kid will get, we're not getting that, right? So we're sitting here and we're suffering. We have no idea what's going on. That's where I come in. That's where I'm going to make a difference, right? So I'm going in to bridge that gap, right? This includes understanding how racial bias can impact diagnosis and treatment, leading to underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed in our population, Black people.
That part.
Right?
That part.
We're going to go back to stop cutting the funds for special education. We went there earlier. We need to ramp that up. We need to ramp that up because it's not only for the white person. It's not, right? It is for us because we all are humans are going through the same thing. So at this point in time, it's not a Black or white. It's not. Give the same diagnosis that you would give the white to a Black person. Additionally, healthcare systems should improve access to early detection and intervention services in historically underserved Black communities by establishing partnership with community-based organization.
And stop putting me on Ritalin just because I got a little extra energy.
You know what I'm saying? By offering affordable and accessible care, institution can reduce barriers that prevent many Black individuals from receiving timely neurodivergent support. And I feel like we need to come together as a community and people who are watching out there as doctors, Black doctors, we need to push this. We got to push it. It starts with us right here, right now in the man cave. Let's push it.
Listen, I want to shout out Cho Q Late. I hope I'm saying that right. _ Starchild said at his startup, www.specialsocial.org, we are here to be inclusive to the needs of the individual. This brother is already dropping down resources. So again, go check out www.specialsocial.org because they are here to be inclusive. They want to make sure everybody is heard and every individual services are met. Again, I didn't give you that promo, and I ain't even charge you for that one, but you had that one today. Chris, I want to go back to you. Listen, you've been playing some of your music in the background, and again, you mentioned earlier how your music has really helped you communicate with your son in ways that probably, that didn't before in some places and spaces. And again, that is a very powerful story and testimony. So kudos to that. Can you kind of go a little bit further? Can you take a little deeper dive and talk about the process? How did this happen by happenstance, or was it like an intentional move? Was it like, oh, let me just try something else because of your own, how you learn? And then how did this breakthrough develop your relationship even more?
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm neurodivergent myself. I am ADHD, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in the day, used to be a lot of us boys, we used to beat on the desk a lot, right?
Yeah.
In class and stuff like that. And that was, back then, you get written up for beating on the desk. You could get in trouble for beating on the desk. And I would always hear this music inside. And I would everywhere I would go, I would turn, like, even as I'm in class, a teacher saying something, I would almost turn it into a song. And that was a part of my ADHD, and also have something called synesthesia, because synesthesia, it makes me see things in rhythms. And when I hear music, I hear it in I see pictures and colors. So if I hear a sound, I'm like, oh, okay. I hear that and I'm like, that sounds like a song. Or I hear a teacher say something, and or someone say something, and I would almost like repeat it. Yeah, you've got that family member, you'll be like, and they'll just turn anything into a little song or a beat. That is exactly what synesthesia is. And that's why it's very important to understand what neurodivergence is, and how it relates to you, how your brain works. Because I was constantly taking these melodies, right? And and just creating these like little things, little songs and little movies in my head. And so uh basically I took that concept and I used it to connect with my son. And that concept, the way he hears music, when he was first born, I would play jazz for him a lot. And since he was a little kid, a little baby, he would always just kind of nod his head every time I played jazz music. And that relationship between he and I just developed into like this melodic form of communication. So now, if I want to get him to say words or mimic the tone or the melody in which I say things, I'll sometimes play it on the keyboard and I'll say, "I love you, Christian," and he'll respond with vocal stemming in the same melody. And that's our practice of how we communicate, how we actually develop those sounds into words. And so, and I wanted to say this too: neurodivergence, autism, ADHD, this is something that affects all races, all people.
Mhm.
It's not just us, because, and it's very important that, because when you get a child and that's diagnosed, and when you first realize that you have a child that may be autistic, you start hearing all of this information, right? Watch what they eat. Like they might have been exposed to metals, and you don't discipline them enough, all of these different things. And it makes what those things actually do, it makes you have parental guilt, and it makes you feel like you did something wrong as a parent. And that's simply not true. What we know about autism, ADHD, is that these things are hereditary, and that these things, I have a nephew with autism, nonverbal. I have also several cousins with it as well. But the key is understanding it. When my nephew was diagnosed with autism in the '90s, there was not a lot understood about autism at that time. But now we have so much more research, so much more community, and all of these things that we're able to learn more and understand, and not only that, but we're able to celebrate it more. Now, I do feel like my son, ultimately the goal for him is to communicate and to talk. It's not just like I just want him to stay nonverbal, but the goal for me is to understand what will open that dimension for him. And I personally feel that it is music, and whatever that is, maybe for your child or for even yourself, finding that thing that will tap into your ability and your level of creativity and understanding all these things, and let that be a guiding light, and a way to connect. Just recently, I forget what school it was, but they just had a valedictorian that was autistic, nonverbal, and they did their whole speech they did the commencement speech on what you call it AC device, which is a device even my son has, where you can actually type in pictures and then it says words. So these things, as far as when it comes to making a connection, is finding that thing that your child can connect with most, and using that as a tool to communicate, to teach, to educate.
Man, first of all, let me go back real quick and say, like, do re mi fa sol la la, do re mi fa sol. The last note is not la, but it's something else. But I sometimes I see music. I don't know how, but I did some. I so like I can see the notes. You did that with your son, like, oh my gosh! I'm sorry, I get a little anime.
So powerful, and for us, this goes back thousands of years to how we used to communicate over drums and melodies. Like,
were you in band or choir?
This is ancestral. We've been doing this for ages.
It's a message,
and
in
it
those
is a spiritual frequency.
Were you in band or choir when you were at Cookman?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't in the choir. I was in the record. I had so many friends in the band. I marched all through high school, and then when I got to college, I was like, look, I just need to focus. I was like all academic. I had to focus, but I was in the recording club, and I would record and hang out in the bedroom. But I knew myself, and I was like, yo, if I get it right now, I had to chill out with the music, because I was a huge fan of the marching band. And I was just like, yo, I gotta focus. You know yourself. So you're like,
you was in heaven, huh?
Yeah, I had to focus.
Like, I know that if
focus.
I get caught up over there, I get caught up over there.
You already know, Cookman, that talking out the side of your neck.
Hey,
Hey man, I would have got lost in that, man, for sure. But I got much love for the band.
I want to say two things real quick.
Yes,
one, I want to say thank you for being a parent that is not giving up. I have one parent that stood out to me, and when I tell you me and her like this now, is because she literally, her child was nonverbal. And now she's in the 4th grade, and she is one of the most social students that I have in my class.
Wow.
And it was simply because her mother did not give up. Her mama put her in speech class. Her mama put her, in different programs to make sure that she would get that. So you said you hope that you found the key, and you did. You found it. And keep on pushing, because you're gonna be surprised when your child's singing you a full song. You're like, wait a minute.
Hey, man, I receive it.
Like, we're gonna speak that into existence now. Like, your child, you working with your child, and I really appreciate that. And then the second thing I just lost, because I was about to go on a whole tangent. I was about to say thank God on that. Woo! I was about to go. Woo!
Nope.
Will it back in. I'll come back.
All right. So before we get out of here, before we get off this topic, though, I want to say to any of you all, I'm just going to go around the room real quick, and make sure you get a spotlight moment. Is there anything else on this topic of being Black and neurodivergent, whether you are yourself or you are raising a child, or you're working with children, or you may be working with maybe patients of this nature? Is there anything you want to share with our listening and viewing audience before we get up out of here? I'm going to start with you, Shay. I'm going to start with you first.
I have one thing I wanted to put out there when it comes to access to diagnosis and treatment and the support. All right. I do believe increasing the funding in the community-based mental health programs and prioritizing underserved population is one way to go. Another, I would push more diversity presentation in clinical research. Diversity in clinical research. That means not only other ethnicities are getting that, but put Black people in there also, so we can ensure that treatments are tailored to the needs of Black neurodivergent individuals. And another one, I would champion the expansion of accessibility diagnostic tools and resources, particular in historical marginalized community. So that's I wanted to put that out there before we go.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. Kevin, what you got? Anything you want to share from your lens and on this topic?
I would say dare to be different. That's number one. Dare to be different.
Mhm.
It's okay to genuinely be different. It's okay to think different. Everybody's not supposed to think the same. Everybody's not supposed to process things the same. So it's okay to be different. Also, stop trying to cut these kids for creativity. Stop trying to say, oh, they shouldn't be able to do this or they shouldn't be able to do this. If you're a teacher and you're listening, I want y'all to hear me clearly. And this is coming from a second year teacher. Stop diminishing these kids' creativity. Stop trying to put them in straight rows and trying to teach the traditional way. We clearly see the traditional way is not working. Let's start actually rethinking the ways that I change my room around more than a black mama on a Sunday afternoon. I promise you, because I want. I'm so serious. I'm talking about, but I do because it's like you gotta change things up. You gotta keep switching things up. You gotta make because if they stay in the same routine, they get bored. They get bored. That's why I want to tell my principal throw lesson plans out the window. No, because one thing about me, I got ADHD too. So if I tell you take out your reading book in the next 2 minutes, I might tell you take out your social studies book because I didn't figured out a whole different plan I want to teach. So I don't like to go on lesson plans. I like to teach from where my mind is. I know it's so much I need to teach in a day. So I'm like, okay, well, all right, no, we're gonna do social studies right now. All right, to math real quick. So it's just like dare to be different, dare to teach different. Teach your kids differently. I promise you, they appreciate you in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, what you got?
I just want to say, everybody, check out Visions of Sounds. The album is out.
No, don't do that part. Not that part. Just talk about the topic. You gonna have a chance to do a shout out later.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Like, support. As a parent, if you have a neurodivergent child, if you think that you have if your child is neurodivergent, support them. Support them in the way that they learn. Encourage them, because that is going to be the key to getting them to opening up and excelling in all these different ways. Don't worry about, they learn different or they see things differently. Everyone focus on their strengths. Everyone has a strength. I believe God
Mm-hmm.
distributes strengths equally to everyone. And once you tap into that, you tap into a greater power, you tap into a purpose. And, I just want to encourage that. Growing up as a kid, I was kind of looked at as like, oh, you're weird, you're different, what's wrong with you type of thing. But once I found music and I really found what my purpose was in that, you know, you become unstoppable. So, I just wanted to encourage every parent, every neurodivergent kid that may be on here that's in school right now. You are not alone. You're not the only one that deals with these things, maybe intrusive thoughts, all of these different things. But the key is talk to someone, find community, find someone that has experienced the same thing that you have been through, and see and look for positive examples of how they internalize that and how they were able to overcome. So yeah.
Awesome. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, we've been having some great conversations there. It's not done yet. We got a few more things we got to wrap up before we get up out of here. All right, but before we close out, I want to give all of our guests a chance to share what's happening in your world right now. See, that's why I want you to hold on for that part, Chris. So, Chris, you've been doing some amazing work with your album. What else is on the horizon for you?
Oh man, right now we're getting ready to do a world tour. We're going to one of the first stops on the list is Buenos Aires, and I'm actually going to their the government building to actually do a talk on neurodiversity, and to just going different places around the world, because you'll be surprised of how places there's different places around the world are just kind of behind on, and not saying that U.S. that we're so far ahead, we're behind too in a lot of our understanding, but understanding, and some places are further ahead of understanding neurodivergence and what it means, and being acceptance. Acceptance is my whole mission, and so that's next. world tour, and also Visions and Sounds is up for a Grammy this year. And
Hey,
yeah,
let's go.
so yeah, man. Fingers crossed, prayers, all that. That is such a good way to just bring awareness to what this is all about. People come to me all the time. They're like, "Oh man, people are actually like listening to your music, man. You actually like becoming famous." I'm like, "Man, I don't care about that. I care about the mission. I care about bringing light to neurodiversity and acceptance and what that means." We talk a lot about autism awareness and neurodivergent awareness, but it is beyond awareness now. It is about acceptance and inclusivity in all of these places, and understanding that we are all different and we all work together for the greater good. So that's what it's all about for me, man.
First of all, that brother said world tour. And so that means for everybody else watching us right now, you got to be passport ready. And I need you to be passport ready.
Passport ready, baby.
Because let me tell you about this opportunity that you don't want to miss. Listen, I'm a part of this organization. We got this HBCU alumni takeover, and we're going to Dubai in May of 2025. So maybe,
let's go.
Just maybe, I like to get Chris to make sure Dubai is on his world tour calendar.
You gotta get it.
Listen, for
you gotta get it.
Nights, but not gonna be over there for 9 nights at a 5-star luxury hotel, yacht parties, desert safaris,
let's and so go. More. Let's go.
Live entertainment, party, and everything, all while connecting with other HBCU alumni from around the world. And guess what? Did I tell you the fact that round trip airfare is included and your accommodations? Ooh. A portion of the proceeds benefit and support students going to HBCU. Now, for more information, you can visit HBCUalumnitakeover.net, where luxury meets legacy, and you don't want to miss it. What,
I
Kevin?
love it.
I've been waiting on this bill all night. I was wondering how he was gonna slide it in there, and you did it. You did it.
So, Kevin, you going right? You going right, Kevin?
At oh my God! Yes. When he said world tour,
I gotta get my ticket today.
That's it.
Hey, Josh, remember, I'm gonna be over there already, so
my sister, she's cool over there, so I'm down.
Listen, so okay, now Shane.
Yes,
okay, now again, as you continue your studies at Virginia University of Lynchburg, what's the next big goal you've been working toward? Because you had some homework you had to do last week, so where we at? How we coming? What's going on?
Well, I'm gonna keep it short because it's really short. My next big goal is just to retire. That's it. I'm ready.
I think that's the goal for everybody.
I'm ready to retire. And I'm gonna tell you, I might hit you up and say, "Hey, man, let's meet up somewhere. We gonna have some drinks."
That
part, right there.
In Dubai. We gonna in Dubai.
In Dubai, also, we not only doing Dubai. We finna
He said we going on the world tour too.
We going on the world tour.
That part.
Hey, shout out to everybody who's dropping links in the chat. Make sure you send a direct message to Historically Black Sense, so we can make sure we add your resources to our list of building of other resources that we can share with our community. And then Kevin, our resident political analyst, what do you have to share with us this week?
Well, a couple of things. First, because everything else is in front of me. First, I want to start off by saying to those that was affected by Hurricane Helene, my prayers are out to you. I've seen complete cities. I'm talking about completely destroyed. Everything, like it's been bad. This is like damage that's worse than Katrina. So do know that the Keep the Success Foundation will be partnering soon with a couple of other nonprofits to actually get a GoFundMe and whatnot and a drive started to help those who are affected. We just got to assess all the damage first. It's still going, so just take care. It's another hurricane coming that people ain't even watching right now. Yes. It's going to be called Hurricane Kirk. We need to watch that and see the trajectory. It look like it's heading towards Houston, but the last one was headed towards Houston and then it made a turn. So I'm just praying it don't hit them same people all over again. So just know that y'all are deep in my prayers. And to my HBCU family and to just all the families in that area. I'm praying for y'all. Now, a couple of other things. The campaign for school board for Oak Park Schools is officially launched. The book, The Perfect Crown, is officially available on Amazon. Please go and shop that children's book. Again, a book that is about the perfect crown, which is related to the Crown Act, and just letting our children know that your hair is beautiful and you're just beautiful just the way you are. You can accomplish everything no matter what. So just because that's a couple of things out that's in the making, and the other stuff, just stay tuned.
That's it. I want to let everybody know. Last week we was talking about some of that self-care, and because you don't want to get burnt out. I had an amazing time in Las Vegas this
Want
week.
to share something?
No, I cannot. I will not. A time was had.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. A time was had.
A time was had.
And listen, the hour is far well spent. If we had more time, I would probably tell you about it, but we don't. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, Kevin and I want to spend a special thank you to our guests today. Our returning guests, Shane Kane and Chris Redding, for joining us today and sharing their stories and insights. Today's conversation on being Black and neurodivergent in America was powerful. It is so important that we continue to raise awareness about the challenges and opportunities facing our community. It's clear there's a lot of work to be done, but conversations like these are the first steps. If you're looking for resources on Black neurodiversity, check out some of these amazing organizations and websites like Black Neurodiversity at blackneurodiversity.com, Bounce Black at bounceblack.org, and specialsocial.org. Now, these platforms provide valuable insights and support for individuals and families navigating neurodiversity in the Black community. Now, coming up in a future episode, maybe as early as next week, it's homecoming season at our HBCU. So get ready to talk about all of the moments of engagement, connections, and fellowship. It is going to be a vibe. And for those of you who are watching, we want to make sure if you are already doing so, make sure you follow and subscribe to Historically Black Sense, and for allowing us to make this platform available to you all. If you haven't already done so, you can go check them out on their website at hbcusense.com, or follow Historically Black Sense on IG, Facebook, and on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Hey, if you want to stay connected to all of our guests here, you want to send a special message to Kevin and myself, you want to reach out to some of these resources that we've been talking about today, make sure you register and sign up for the HBCU Man Cave newsletter for news, resources, and follow up with any of the brothers you see here on the show. And so you can find a link in the chat, or you can look in the description of this show and this program to join the mailing list. And of always, you know how we do it. It's your boy, your uncle, your cousin, it's your best friend. You have been watching the HBCU Man Cave, where men can relate, relax, and relieve. Remember, always stay safe, stay blessed, and stay focused. And we'll see you next time in the cave.
Peace.